Hi guys, you are welcome to our channel. It is wonderful to have you here. My name is Morayo, and to our Muslim family, Idi Kabir. Enjoy your festivities and may the blessings of God be upon you and upon your sacrifice. Amen. So today we're going to be talking about weaning. Weaning is one of those topics that nobody tells you about, but is one of the deep ends of the first stages of motherhood. Just like I'm going through potty training now, and that's one of another deep end that people just throw you into or you're thrown into without them giving you full or adequate information, or maybe because they also do not know. So today I'm here to share with you. This one I did not receive freely. This particular knowledge I paid for, but we will still give. At least to an extent we will give, okay? So what is weaning? How do you wean a child? What are the foods you're supposed to do? How do you go about it? Well, weaning is the process of introducing your child to another type of food or another set of food with the hopes to completely change him or her from the current food that he's, dependent on. Most times that current food is milk, breast milk or formula. So the idea behind weaning or the process of weaning is to transition your child fully from breast milk or formula to family food. Okay, and there are different types of weaning. There's baby-led weaning. That is weaning that is initiated by your baby. The baby is the one that goes first, grabs, wants to eat everything, and at the end of the day probably says, I'm not interested in breast milk again. Some babies are like that. There's mother-led weaning, which is what happened between me and Joshua. Before mother-led weaning, let me talk about there's gradual weaning. Gradual weaning is the process of, introducing foods gradually to child, and the process of weaning is very gradual. And under that gradual weaning is what is known as partial weaning. So partial weaning is that you're not fully taking your child off breast milk. You're not fully taking your child off formula. You're introducing other foods, but you're not fully taking them off. And that is what happened with Joshua as well. That was the first one. At 6 months, you're supposed to introduce child to food at 6 months. Not earlier than 4 months, but the time is 6 months when the child has a proper head-neck coordination. They can sit up and their neck is not waddling. Their neck is straight. Food can go down easily. They have a good eye-hand coordination. They can see your hand moving, or at least they can, you can direct them to open their mouth, and spoon can go into their mouth without their tongues moving up and down. So they're eager for food as well. They want to grab food. They're looking at food. They're not rejecting food as much. They're open to the idea of receiving food. That's when you know your child is ready, because sometimes your child is not ready for weaning, and you shouldn't force your child. It's dangerous. There's choking hazards. If it's earlier than 4 months, there are fatal consequences, like your child, God forbid, somebody, whatever, your enemy's child can die, from introducing food too early. So please note this. Moving on. Back to mother-led weaning and how we apply to Joshua. Mother-led weaning is weaning initiated by the mother. And at 22 months was when I weaned Joshua off, and it was mother-led weaning. In fact, there's something known as sudden weaning. It was sudden weaning. It happened suddenly. I was pregnant at the time with my second born now, and my first trimester was tedious, for lack of a better word. It was so stressful. It was so draining. So I already had, the problems of first trimester, going to the hospital, and then to couple it with breastfeeding. One night I just said I can't do this, and I told my husband to take Joshua to a room with him, to sleep in the room with him. The first night, yes, Joshua cried a few times, but second, third day, we were good. So it wasn't as completely weaning off my son from breast milk wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Maybe for some other children, but for Joshua's temperament, it wasn't as bad. So yes, there's sudden weaning. Sudden weaning is when weaning happens suddenly due to one thing or the other. In my case, it was because I was pregnant with another child. And there's temporary weaning. Temporary weaning is sudden weaning that happens, but it happens for maybe mother or child is sick, maybe mother has to leave for work somewhere. It happens, and with the idea that the process of breastfeeding will be reinitiated at a much later date. So those are the types of weaning. Okay? So when should weaning start, and why do we wean children? One of the major reasons for weaning children, and I didn't even know this, is because at 6 months, breast milk, which is one of the main things that baby is weaned off, breast milk significantly loses a chunk of iron, an essential element in baby's growth and development. A mother's breast milk has a significant reduction in the iron that it produces and gives to baby. For some reason, that's how God has made it. Other elements are still there: folates, vitamins, a lot of benefiting things, the antibodies. The breast milk is still rich in it, but iron is not rich in iron anymore. So you have to introduce iron via formula and other foods to the baby. Okay? So that's one of the major reasons for weaning your child off. Aside the fact that your child eventually has to be weaned off. Baby has to be weaned off milk. Baby has to eat at some point or the other in baby's life. Now, another thing that I learned is that it's very important that weaning is done correctly and that you do not do it too early or too late. I've told you the reasons why I do not do it early. If you do it early, it can be fatal. If you do it too late, then your baby's neuromuscular functions that have to relate with chewing, eating, etc. may also be affected. That is going on with my son right now. So I did not get knowledge at 6 months or before 6 months. I just thought that, when 6 months come, I would know how it will happen, or I will ask around. I had been asking around, and most people say just start with pap. My sisters, my brothers, if you're watching, don't just start with pap. Get wisdom, get knowledge. How do you start the process of weaning? Number one, get knowledge. If you can join a platform, the platform I joined and the platform I will recommend here is the Baby Nurse Africa platform. At the time, at 6 months, my mother-in-law was actually here, the story of my weaning. And, I said, Mommy, please, how do I start to introduce food? Because she was one of those that were eager, gingering her grandson, should eat and everything. So she was here coincidentally. And he said, you know what, the first thing you do is you introduce pap. So I was like, we can't give him either sugar or honey. And even she was like, she was surprised. I guess she had forgotten. And I said, because of botulism. She said, okay, give him the pap like that. Just give him like that. So we started to give Joshua pap. And at the beginning, he took it quite easily. He took the pap. It was very willing. I didn't take a video of those times because I just thought that maybe that's how it is. Until she left maybe a few days after, and those few days after she left, maybe a little while after, my son started to reject the pap that he was used to. And I was like, what am I going to do? In fact, I was just giving him pap. The pap was not enriched with anything. I had no idea about the iron, whatever. I just said, oh, it's pap. So I said, okay, should I change the pap? Should I this? Should I that? It was in the process. He had reached about almost 7 months. In the process of, I was almost giving up on this weaning journey because I was still doing a significant amount of breastfeeding. It was basically living off breast milk. It was in that process that I cried out to help on the group that I was on. I was on this Baby Nurse Africa platform. I went to meet the proprietor, Nurse SCN. I said, please, my child is not eating. He's almost 7 months. What can I do about it? I didn't even put it on the general group. I just went to her directly. She told me, you, how old did you say? Well, it's not too late. I actually have a complimentary feeding class, and I would like you to join it. pay so amount, and then I'll add you to the group. I didn't waste time, I paid, and then I entered the group. So yes, again, this knowledge that I'm sharing is not free, but it's not like I'm sharing everything. I'm just going to be sharing the basics so that you can also know, and you're not a victim as I was to lack of understanding. So one of the first things that you do when you're weaning a child is to get knowledge. You do your research. If you do not have money to pay to join a class, do enough research on, prior to the time that your baby needs to be weaned, different types of foods that your baby should eat, why they should eat it. One of the first things that you should introduce to your child at 6 months, if you were only doing breast milk, is formula. Formula that is enriched with iron. The reason is because iron is significantly reduced and removed from the breast milk, and you need to supplement. That's one of the first things that you need to supplement after 6 months. So you introduce your baby to milk. That was one of the first things that I heard. Introduce your baby to formula. Okay, the next thing we want to do is to understand the classes of foods. There are different classes of foods, and there are different ways you should introduce them. There are different foods that go along together, and there are different types of iron as well. So the first type of iron is what they call hemi-iron. Hemi-iron. Hemi-iron is mostly contained in the hemoglobin and myoglobin, of animals, of chicken, of rabbits, of ram, of goats, of fishes. So you have to give it to your child. Those animals have to be killed, and you have to cook it, boil it, and find a way to puree it and then give it to your child. Okay, I learned about liver pate. Things like liver pate liver is very rich in iron, and you don't give your child a lot of it. You introduce it in small quantities. It's one of the things I learned from being on that group, complementary feeding group. Complementary feeding is is partial feeding, which is feeding your child other foods in addition to the breast milk, because you don't stop breast milk totally. Breast milk is still very, very nourishing. It's still full of folates, it's still full of vitamins, it's still full of antibodies and other things. So that's one of the things that you learn. And there's non-hemi-iron. Please follow me, I hope you're understanding. Non-hemi-iron can be found in formula that is enriched with iron, and then in plants or plant-based foods. Okay, so you also, especially if maybe you're a vegetarian or something like that, then you have to find a way to know how you make those non-hemi ions and the quantity that you will be giving it to the child, so that the child will have adequate iron for growth and development. Okay, so that's one of the first things that you need to know. You need to get knowledge when you're weaning your baby. The next thing that you need to do is to get equipment. Oh my days, I didn't know that there were quite a number of equipments that were needed in weaning a child. You need to get a steamer basket, you need to get a sterilizer, you need to get your baby's own knives, your baby's own chopping boards, you need to get your baby's own pot if you can. You need to get your baby's own cups, and it was advised from that group that I was on that you use silicone, material, cups, spoons, beep, because they're easier to wash and they do not retain stains like other normal plastics do. Okay, they do not retain oil and things like that. Okay, you need to get equipment. These things and more you will learn if you do your research or if you join this class that I'm recommending. I'm literally recommending the class to you because I know it will be of help to you. Okay, now the next thing you want to do after you've gotten knowledge and equipment is to load yourself up on patience, because the journey of weaning a baby requires a lot of patience. Some children readily accept food, some do not, like my son Joshua, and you just have to be patient. You just have to keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. Okay? Now, one of the equipments that you may want to get is also, I'm looking at it as I'm talking to you, is actually a high chair. It will be very beneficial and helpful to you. You have to know once again, that you cannot introduce food too early to your child or too late. You have to know that there's a way that food texture works with different ages of children as well. There's a texture that will help, your child better at 6 months, a different texture at 7, 8 months, a different texture at 9 months. And if you miss the 9 to 10 months change of texture window, then your child may have problems later on. I missed that as well. I didn't know I was supposed to switch from puree to more, more solid form so that my child's chewing coordination will be developed. I was just more in the zone of he's eating, I'm feeding him, at least he's collecting food. But it's beyond that. Weaning is just beyond giving your child food. Weaning is helping your child to move and transition from just liquid breast milk or formula to solid family food. And also, you want to load up on water. When you start introducing formula, when you start introducing food to your child, you want to load up on good water. There's such a thing as good water. I learned that as well on the group. Zinc fortified water. And here in Nigeria, I think it's Nestle that has that, and we buy that brand. We bought that brand. That brand is what Joshua still uses till now. I hope I've not missed out anything. But yes, this is basically it on weaning. I hope you learned something today. I hope you're taking something away. And if you're in that process, it's never too late, to get more knowledge. If you're in that process and you're confused, please don't be. Many people are in that shoe. You're not alone. Let me know if there's anything else you would like to know on our expository topics and you'd like me to discuss. That will be all for now on Weaning. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'll see you next week. Much love.